thanks for being here. I know you guys just did your GAT, so if you watched my videos on how to do well in the GAT, then I am so confident that you guys just smashed it. And yeah, good on you guys for, putting in the effort, because I know a lot of people don't care about it. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about Stasi-Land and Never Let Me Go. So kudos to you if you've clicked on this video, even if you're not studying these two texts. I think if you're studying any particular books that revolve around communism, dictatorship, dystopia, and really just any texts that really talk about human survival and strength, then this is going to be a good one for you to watch. Now, if you are specifically studying Stasi-Land, Never Let Me Go, I am going to link you to a video that I previously did in the past in the description box below. So the comparison in the past used to be Stasi-Land in 1984, and I'd still recommend that for you guys just because I feel like a lot of the themes and ideas are quite similar. And so if you do watch that video, I feel like you can come back to Stasi-Land and Never Let Me Go and just have some new insights that you might not have had if you'd only just studied these two texts. So yeah, all right, let's get into it. Background. Set during the 1990s, Anna von der Stasi-Land is a recollection of her interviews with those who lived through the German Democratic Republic, also known as the GDR. To understand Stasi-Land as a text, we must first understand its historical background. Germany was a divided country post-World War II, where the eastern part of Germany was occupied by the Soviet Union, while the west was occupied by the Allied powers. As a result, East Germany was established as a communist state, also known as the GDR. The government relied on military to exert their power over civilians. Many innocent people were detained, tortured, imprisoned, and millions fled the state to the safety of West Germany. You might be familiar with the Berlin Wall. This famous wall was erected in 1961 as a physical means to prevent more civilians from escaping. Stasi-Land explores the stories of those who lived in East Germany during this time, and also previous members of the secret police, known as the Stasi, whose sole mission was to punish those who went against the state. Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go also brings us back to the 1990s. However, his version is quite different from the 1990s as we know it. In Ishiguro's world, scientific advancements have made human clones a reality, and these clones are harvested for their organs once they've reached adulthood. The story surrounds Kathy H., a carer for donors who will eventually complete. These euphemisms used in the unfamiliar clone context transport us to a new world, but to put it simply, Kathy nurses and cares for clones who donate their organs to their biologically real counterparts, and usually after the fourth donation, they complete, meaning they die. Kathy, as a clone herself, waits for her time to transition into the role of donor and ultimately complete. Common themes. Dystopia. Ironically, both texts explore events and actions that are supposed to make the world a better place, but in reality, showcase humans' brutality and inhumanity. East Germany is under communist rule, and while in theory, this way of operating a society is seen as a utopia, instead we see the leaders of East Germany start a war with their own citizens by using heavy military, including the Stasi. Civilians' fear permeates throughout society because you never know who is spying on you, even friends and family. And any action deemed to be a betrayal of the state can lead you to torture and imprisonment. We read with horror by seeing into the minds of those who supported the Stasi, the tragedies faced by the innocent, and the constant state of uncertainty that stung these people's lives. While Fonda portrays the physical and psychological suffering of her interviewees, Never Let Me Go's dystopian approach is a lot more subdued, and I believe it's because these clones have never known their lives to be any different. In fact, we tend not to think of Never Let Me Go as a dystopia because it surprisingly doesn't have your typical hallmarks of dystopia, including fear, enemies, and oppression. Instead, Kathy's world is oddly idyllic. The novel is written entirely from her perspective. The absence of a normal human being's perspective is purposeful because Ishiguro wants us to see the inhumanity that is experienced by the clones. From the outset, Ishiguro's novel might seem boring, or even slow for some readers, but this in fact is a narrative strategy that reflects Kathy's view of the world. From a clone's perspective, the benefits of organ harvesting are never touched upon, but instead, the slow decline of donors dutifully expressed and death as a lingering reality upon all those who live in this world. But instead, the slow decline of donors is dutifully expressed and death as a lingering reality upon all of those who live in this world. The lives of the clones are controlled, and as Miss Lucy puts it, your lives are set out for you. You'll become adults, then before you're old, before you're even middle-aged, you'll start to donate your vital organs. That's what each of you was created to do. Memory. Both texts explore the different ways people deal with their memories. Funder and Stasiland queries, to remember or forget, which is healthier? Some, like Julia, try to repress and forget their memories because recalling their past is traumatic. Others, like Miriam, copes with her husband, Charlie's disappearance, by trying to learn as much as she can from surveillance files and government officials. On a much larger scale, the puzzle women are symbolic of a society coming to terms with their horrific history. These women work tediously to piece together shredded Stasi files, a mission that will take close to 4 centuries to complete. Never Let Me Go, on the other hand, explores the power of memory in giving a person a sense of purpose and meaning in life. Without parents, and therefore a heritage to help define her identity, Kathy uses the only thing that can help her establish it, her memories. Because of the clone's limited lifespan on Earth, we also see Kathy clutching onto experiences as a way to come to terms with her mortality. Ishiguro makes this possible by allowing Kathy to spend majority of the novel reflecting on her past. Memory here offers Kathy solace, and we discover with delight that our protagonist has found value in her transient existence when she shares that her work as a carer is important because it makes a big difference to what a donor's life's actually like. Ishiguro's novel is cleverly structured, as readers are kept in the dark of Kathy's fate until much later in the book. Instead, we're exposed to words from the first page that remain mysterious to us. Carer, donation, donors. This echoes Kathy's experience with the world. These words are thrown around and used, but their true meaning is never truly fully revealed until Kathy begins to experience it herself. This is reflective of all the clones' lives where they're told but not told. In other words, while the guardians or teachers at the school have slick remarks about their future, it is mentioned in the way that the students don't fully grasp, perhaps because they're too young to understand, but also because they don't try to understand it. This strongly reveals their acquiescence and acceptance of their fate as clones. What I love about these 2 books is what they say about humans. At Year 12 level, and particularly in reading comparing, your assessor expects you to not only understand the text itself, but to understand the real-life implications explored. So here we're looking at human reactions and responses to our world and experiences. So when you start comparing Stasiland and Never Let Me Go, think about the human condition. For example, in Never Let Me Go, Kathy is accepting of her fate, and the one time she does try to alter it, she only tries to delay her completion rather than avoiding it altogether. Whereas in Stasiland, Miriam fights for her independence at the risk of her own life. So start asking yourself questions like, why do people react differently? What does that say about us as people? And what can we learn from these stories? I think if you start looking at these sort of questions, then your analysis when it comes to reading comparing is going to be a lot more wholesome rather than just, comparing 2 books. So obviously I've only touched upon a couple of themes and only a few different examples, but what I'd really love is for you to write down in the comment section below. With these 2 themes that I've discussed, what other characters do they apply to? What are some different considerations that we should start thinking about? And what do they say about people and humans? Us. I think if we can construct, a really positive community in the comment section below where we're helping each other out, then I think that would be really fantastic. And I always read through all of my comments, so where possible, I will reply to you if you do write down anything about the particular text. So yeah, I hope that helps you guys. And don't forget the links in the description box below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!